All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. The first WNBA Finals video. We are going to talk about the Las Vegas Aces versus the Phoenix Mercury, Game 1 and Game 2. I did miscalculate. I thought Game 1 was on Saturday and Game 2 was going to be today on Monday. It was not. It was on Friday, and then the next game was on Sunday. So you guys did not get a video about Game 1. But I'm kind of happy I didn't do a video about Game 1 because, man, oh man, the Aces are up 2-0, and they are looking really good. They are on fire right now, and the Mercury are looking a bit, I don't know. We're still going to talk about Game 1. We're going to talk about Game 2. But I'm going to really just um, talk about both as a whole and what the Aces are doing right and what the Phoenix Mercury are doing wrong. Heading back to Phoenix for Game 3 and Game 4, this is the first 7-game series in WNBA history, or potential 7-game series. You need to win 4 games. The Aces already have 2. They just need to get 1 in Phoenix and then head back home for Game 5, potentially, and win it at home. But we'll talk about the future of this series in a little bit. If you like what I have to say, like the video. If you have any opinions, comment it down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. And yeah, so Game 1 and Game 2. Let me preface this with I've said it a million times on this channel since we've talked about the WNBA. I am a Las Vegas Aces fan. I've been a fan since they were the San Antonio Stars. So this is a very personal series for me. We'll see how long it goes. I'm gonna be very critical of the Mercury, but I'm also gonna give them their praise when they're doing stuff right. But just so you know, there's a little bit of bias. I am an Aces fan. Um, what are you gonna do? Yeah, I'm just gonna tell you what I see. I can be a little unbiased. I'll try to be unbiased here, but man, oh man, I had this series going 6, and I had the Mercury winning in 6. I thought the Mercury were more well equipped to deal with the Aces. I thought they had all the tools, all the ability. They have, I think I said it in my preview of this series. Um, the Mercury don't have a lot of chemistry together, like have a lot of experience, finals and championship experience together, but they have a lot of players who have been in those moments. And collectively as a group, if you tally it all together, they have a lot of experience in the playoffs and in the finals. Um, but that hasn't seemed to matter. This Aces core, well, the group, the big three being on the bottom right of your screen, Jackie Young, number 0, Chelsea Gray, number 12, and the 4-time MVP, Asia Wilson, number 22, and the addition of Jewel Lloyd, who's shown up in spots and shown up pretty a little more consistently in these finals. But that's the big three right there. That big three has been together for a long time, and I think it's really showing this series especially. Um, Asia Wilson is ascending or has ascended, and she's going to continue to ascend into a rare space of her own in the WNBA pantheon. She's going to be, when you walk into a pantheon, back wall, the front, the top, and the front back wall, the top and the back wall are usually reserved for like the idol, the deity, whatever it is. That's where Asia Wilson's going to be, if she's able to pull this championship off, and I think they are. Um, I said Phoenix in 6 when I previewed this series because I was not confident in my aces. I am going to do my one switcheroo, my one switch. I don't often change my predictions because I think once you say something, you should stand on it. But I did not see this version of this Aces team coming out. I thought they were really beat up from the Seattle series in round 1. I thought they were really beat up from the Fever series in round 2. And to get to the finals, it was a very hard road, and I didn't know if they'd be prepared. I didn't know if they'd be ready for this moment. And I was totally wrong. I was totally wrong. They were ready. Everybody was ready. This whole group was ready. Becky Hammond had them ready. And I'm going to use my one switcheroo to change it to Aces in 6. It's got to be Aces in 6. Um, if they can head to Phoenix, um, was it be Wednesday? I think, right? Yeah, because it's a 2-game layover. Yeah, be Wednesday. Um, if they can get 1 game in Phoenix this week and head back home this weekend to play back in Las Vegas and win the championship, I think that's the shot they have. Now, how do we get in this situation? Let's talk about Game one, that happened on Friday, and I feel like I'm pretty well equipped to talk about this, but it's it feels so far away and so much has happened since then. It just feels like it's been a week since I've talked to you guys. But game one, um, the penultimate game, the really important game. I think when you come out like gangbusters and you want to win a series, you have to get game one. You're supposed to get game two, is my point. But if you get game one, it changes the whole series, it changes the whole dynamic. The Mercury did not do that. The Mercury lost game one of the NBA of the WNBA Finals. They scored 86, and the Las Vegas Aces. What happened in this game? I have notes. I've been taking notes because whenever I figure that I'm gonna have to talk about a game a couple days before or a couple days after it happened, I like to have notes. So I did have some notes about this game. My first note about this game was Phoenix going small. They went really small. The starting lineup was in no particular order: Alyssa Thomas, Natasha Mack, Satu Sabali, who we'll get to later in the video, Kalia Copper, Monique. They say her name all the time on the broadcast, and I just can never remember how to say it. Monique A.M.M. Monique A.M. M.A.M. We'll call her M.A.M. M.A.M. out there as a starting lineup. I think there was an interesting group. It was an interesting card to pull by Coach Nate Tibbetts. And I thought this lineup was pretty smart. It was pretty heady. It was like, okay, well, the Aces don't really have size. They do have bigs on the team, but they don't really run them that often. Let's go small. Let's see if we can beat them at their own game. That's not what happened. Um, and then my second note here is that Alyssa Thomas was cooking this game. I just want to preface that with that. She came out firing. She had a pretty decent game one, I would say. Um, and my initial thought in the first couple minutes of this game for Alyssa Thomas and for the Aces defending her was the Aces just need to let Alyssa Thomas do her thing and just worry about everybody else. Because the whole system that the Phoenix Mercury run is basically Alyssa Thomas penetrating the paint, getting into the paint, drawing a double, or somebody's helping to try to um, get Alyssa Thomas to fumble the ball, and Alyssa Thomas reading the floor, reading the defense, and finding the open player in the corner at the top of the key. Either she pulls out and they drive back in, or they just shoot the three immediately. And that was happening a lot in game one, where the Phoenix Mercury were just getting wide open essentially wide open shots because the Aces had to run from the paint to the um, to the 3 point line, and you just the time for that to happen just wasn't enough, and the Aces player just weren't fast enough. Um, and I was thinking maybe, hey, let Alyssa Thomas get 40, let her get 30. That's 2 points. She's not shooting a three. She's just gonna go down there. She's gonna put her elbow in, put her shoulder into somebody, go up with it, maybe get the 3 point conversion, maybe not. You know, she doesn't shoot free throws that well. We'll get to that later. Um, I thought that was it because you look at the stat line here, right? And I'm not saying all these shots came off of Alyssa Thomas' assist. I'm pretty sure a lot of them did, but not all of them. Because this game, Satu Sabali and Kalia Copper really showed up and really balled out. Kalia Copper with 21 in game one, 4 rebounds, three personal fouls. Oh no, yeah, three personal fouls, no turnovers, so good for her. 2 steals. Satu Sabali 19 points, um, 5 fouls, 2 turnovers, 4 assists, 4 rebounds for Satu, 6 of 12 overall, splitter shots, 3 of 7 from 3 point range. Um, AMM 11 points, 2 steals, 3 assists. Alyssa Thomas 15 points, 5 turnovers, 9 assists, 10 rebounds. Um, this was a pretty competitive and consistent game on par with what the uh, Mercury usually do throughout the course of the playoffs and what they've been managing to do for the majority of the season is everybody contributing. Alyssa Thomas being the engine of that offense, and you could see the Aces starting to figure it out. And heading into the third, there was a lot of stoppages of play because there were a lot of injuries that happened. Well, I should say there were a lot of injuries that happened, but they didn't take the players out of the game. The ones that I remember were in no, I think if I can remember this correctly, but in no particular order, I think Chelsea Gray tweaked her ankle. Um, yeah, Chelsea Gray tweaked her ankle. Um, Sammy Whitcomb for the Mercury, she had a little injury, and who else was Satu Sabali? Oh no, that was game two. Yeah, that was. I think that was. Yeah, that was game two. Yeah, that was game two. So those were the two major injuries for both teams had injuries. Um, and it was a lot of stoppages, a lot of stop and go, touch and go, and it was a different pace of game. In the third, there was just a lot of stoppages, a lot of things going on. Um, I believe Alyssa Thomas towards the end of the game had a hand issue. Her hand was like messed up, but there were a lot of injuries this game. And it was a weird game. It was a weird third quarter, but heading into the fourth and coming coming down. I say maybe around like the 6 minute mark left in the fourth, 4 minutes left in the fourth. Alyssa Thomas still had no points in the second half. No points. The engine of the offense for the Phoenix Mercury had no points, and she's not supposed to be a scorer, but when she does score, it opens up the rest of her game. Duh, right? Especially when she did when a player, if you don't know and you don't watch, you don't digest basketball like that. If a player does not have their shot going from where they usually get it, and they're not a standstill shooter or anything like that, it becomes harder for your game to flourish to a game by game basis because you are so hamstrung by I can't get my offense going, so they're just sagging off me. They're doing this, they're doing that. They've blocked my shot 3 times, and now I'm just getting flustered and I can't read the defense and all these things are collateral with you not getting your shot going. And that was not a problem for the Aces. Dana Evans went off in the fourth, hit some huge shots, absolutely monster shots. Had some great moments for this team. And what else is there? What else is there? Let me see my notes here. Um, Asia had a stupid shot with 30 seconds left. Um, that made the game closer. Obviously, 86-89 is as close as you probably get in a finals game like this, with both teams playing above average. Nobody had a real quote unquote bad game. I don't think. Um, but yeah, and then at the end of this game, um, the Mercury, the crunch time sucked. It sucked for the Mercury, and Alyssa Thomas sucked. Um, and Satu, I forgot to mention this. The storyline throughout the course of this game, and I sort of alluded to it when I read her number out here for personal fouls. Satu Sabali had 5 fouls, um, and she got benched. She had to get benched a few times because you didn't want her to keep. You get 6, you're out of the game. But she just couldn't. She had to come in, go out, come in, go out, come in, go out, and it was just really bad. And she had a little bit of momentum, and then she would just pick up a foul, and Coach Nate Tibbetts had to pull her and be like, "Hey, you just got to sit on the bench." Um, but that didn't help the Fever. If Satu maybe played, what she play? She played 31 minutes. If she plays 36 like Kalia Copper or 38 like Alyssa Thomas, maybe this is an overtime game and it goes a little bit differently. But that wasn't the case. Um, this was a this was a game where Nate Tibbetts got out coached by Becky Hammon, and this is a game. I don't feel bad for Fever fans at this present moment, but this is a game you look back as not Fever as a. I don't feel bad for Mercury fans at this moment, but you look at this game, you're like, this is the one we probably should have gotten to make the series interesting because I don't think it's going to be interesting from here on out. At least maybe I don't think the Mercury tie the series at all at any point. Um, we'll get to why when we talk about Game Two. But reading off some stats here for the Las Vegas Aces in Game One. The big hitters, Asia Wilson, 21 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks, no personal fouls, no turnovers, which is incredible actually. 7 of 16. Um, Jackie Young had a quiet 10. Chelsea Gray had 8 and 10. She probably would have had a double double if she didn't get her ankle stepped on, or she got her foot stepped on, and then she twisted her ankle a little bit. Um, let's see here. Jewell Loyd, 18 points, really good game. That was probably one of the better games from Jewell Loyd offensively. Um, we'll get to her defensive game next. Dana Evans off the bench, 21 points. I think that's a stat. That's a number somewhere. Because I saw it on Instagram. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Um, but the big hitters for this game were Asia and Dana Evans, which you would never expect. I mean, Dana Evans is a baller, but you just don't. Anything can happen in the finals, and that's just like sort of proof of it. And I expect something like that to happen in Phoenix when the Mercury get back home, is they're just gonna have one of their random role players just go off. Um, it's par for the course in any final. Let me see here. Let me see if I can find the number here. Doo doo doo. Um, no, this isn't it isn't a stat. It's just a good night for Dana Evans. So, um, yeah, and then I should mention in the last half of the game, the last little section of the game, the last 10 seconds when the Mercury had a chance to tie the game. Was it a six? Yeah, you tie the game, or yeah, you had to tie the game because you're down three. Um, freaking Becky Hammon checks in Kia Stokes, who hasn't played at all in the playoffs or the finals, for like 10 seconds, for like 20 seconds, to be a big body down low and just deter some getting to the basket action from the Mercury for their last shot. She played amazing defense. Picked up like three different people, just switched everything, and she just had her hands up. She had her hands high, low, so they couldn't pass it, couldn't shoot it. It was a great moment for Kia Stokes. Had not played all playoffs, I don't think. Um, and yeah, really, really good stuff. Really good stuff for the Aces. What did I think? I'm trying to remember. What did I think after game one? I thought maybe this was the one game the Aces would get. I was like, okay, this is the one. I think I said this in my preview, but I was like, I'm just happy to be here as an Aces fan, and I'm happy for the Aces, obviously. Where I'm like, we had such a shitty um, middle of the season, and you were like, oh, look, well, not middle of the season, beginning of the season, then the middle of the season we turned it around, and then you're just like, oh, we're happy to get here, and I'm happy to be here, just to be in the finals again, but to that was my feeling most of Saturday heading into Sunday, was like, oh, I'm just happy to be. We got the one game. We stood pat at home. We're good, you know. If we win game two, then I'll change my mind. And then we won game two. But this game was like a relief almost. It was like, okay, we got the one. We're not gonna get swept. And now it's just a completely different mindset now. Um, and I was like, oh, the Mercury are gonna come out. They're gonna try to figure us out. Nate Tibbetts is a decent coach. He's gonna do what they need to do to change it. Alyssa Thomas is a smart player. They got DeWanna Bonner. They got Sammy Whitcomb, who hasn't had 6 points this game one. And then we move on to game two, and man, oh man, man, oh man, game two was something, and this game made me laugh. It made me yell at the refs. It was a really fun game, and it reminded me of why I started watching the WNBA, because the WNBA is just so funny sometimes. It's just so interesting. There are things that happen that are just inexplicable. Um, there are players that think they're Michael Jordan, and they're not. Um, moving on to game two. Game two now. Game two. Just so everybody knows, game two. These are game two stats. These are um, the Aces won this game 91 to the Mercury's 78. And throughout the course of this game, I was like, oh, the Aces are looking really good. They're looking pretty incredible. We'll see how long they can last. Because throughout the course of these playoffs, they've had really good first halves and then third quarters, and the fourth quarter rolls around, you're like, not really great. Um, but this game was different. Um, my first initial thought heading into this, well, at the beginning of this game, I have notes for this game as well. Um, as I alluded to earlier, Satu Sabali, who was a big part of this team and had a pretty decent game um, last game on Friday, came out and she was like, "I'm gonna be Michael Jordan tonight," and she was chucking up shots left, right, and center, taking unnecessary dribbles, firing too early. They were either too short, too long, too short, too long. They would go up, they would come back down, they would fall out. It was as some would say, it was an Astor class, not a master class. It was an Astor class, and I I think it's because Satu Sabali. This is her first finals. This is her first real deep playoff run, and this is no. Well, actually, no. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna just say it just to cover my ass, but I actually don't believe this. Um, Satu Sabali thinks she's her when she's not. Um, And I in Dallas, when she was in Dallas last year and the years previous to that, I was like, oh, I like her. She's cool. She's a nice player. And then she like left Dallas because they knew they were going to get Paige, and she apparently Satu Sabali didn't want to play with Paige or whatever. Satu Sabali has wants to be the player, wants to be the greatest player, which is fine. And delusion as a basketball player, as any athlete, is needed to get to that height. But when you don't have the experience and you don't have the skill yet, to turn it on and turn it off and you think you can turn it on, that becomes this game in which you look bad because you're just chucking shots. You're like, oh my God, please go in. Please, you're praying every time you go to the bench. Please let the next three go in. Please let the next three go in. And they didn't go in. And Satu Sabli had a horrendous game up until like the latter half of the game where you could say, well, we don't care what happens in the first three quarters. If you show up in the fourth, who cares? Well, maybe if you just had that game consistently throughout the course of the whole game from the fourth, you would have had a better game. But you didn't, and you decided to chuck up shots when the game was essentially over. Um, and maybe you get in a little bit of rhythm. That's the only positive from this thing. It's like, hey, you got back in a little bit of rhythm. Maybe you're heading back to Phoenix where the fans aren't going to boo you. They're going to support you. Da 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 da. This, that, and the third. She ended the game with 22. She was 2 of 9 from three. Most of those were horrendous. Heat checks. 7 of 19. 9 rebounds. No personal fouls this time, but um, Nate Tibbetts again had to pull her because she was literally killing the offense. Like she was taking shots way too early in the shot clock, and they she was a menace in the worst way possible that game. And then my second note for this game is the Aces get on a run early after being down. Yeah. So the first quarter was pretty interesting. Despite Satu not being able to hit a shot, Melissa Thomas was doing her thing. Kalia Copper, I have to shout out Kalia Copper for this Phoenix Mercury team real quick. Kalia Copper is the only one who's been balling the past two games. Kalia Copper, NBA champion, has been balling. She's been really good these two games. She's been dinged up a little bit, but she's come back right back in the game. Um, and she's been the only real consistent um, player for the Mercury, and that's a little worrisome because she's not really supposed to be your leading scorer. She's supposed to be like your auxiliary scorer or like your second or third scorer. She's not supposed to be your first scorer, even though she has all the talent to be a first scorer. She's just not. That's just not her role because she has to do so much on defense. She has a lot of roles on this team and a lot of roles on any team she's been on, especially the championship team when she was in Chicago. But um, yeah, so that was that. It was a close first quarter. Aces did get on a good run. They got some good momentum, and I think that's why they saw some things in the first quarter, kept building on those things that they saw, kept moving the ball, kept doing things that made the Mercury uncomfortable, and that's what really sealed the game down the stretch. Is the stuff they built off in the first quarter. Um, I have a note here. Satu Sabali benched. I think that it was the beginning of the second when or the end of the first when I think Nate Tibbetts was like, "Nah, you got to come sit down. We can't. We need to stay in this game." Um, My second note here um, is DeWanna Bonner and Alyssa Thomas. Um, they looked extremely bad this game. In particular, Alyssa Thomas. DeWanna Bonner came off the bench. She hasn't really done much um, these finals, these past two games. So I'm not gonna ding her too hard for a 4 point game that she had in game two. This game, she was 0 of 2 from three, 1 of 5 from field goal. No assists, no rebounds, no one assist, no rebounds, one steal, zero turnovers, zero fouls, a -9 on the plus minus in 23 minutes. A huge nothing burger, which I guess at that point when she was in the game, a nothing burger is better than putting up bad shots, which was what Satu was doing. Um, and Alyssa Thomas looked very how do I put this? She looked very out of sorts. She was arguing with the refs. She picked up a lot of fouls. She was the main defender on four-time MVP Asia Wilson, and it did not look good. She looked old. Her tricks weren't working. The lowering the shoulder and bumping the person out of the way worked like maybe like three times, four times total throughout the course of the game. She ended the game with four personal fouls, 10 points, 5 assists, 3 steals, 6 rebounds, 5 of 9 in 30 minutes. That's not a star player stat line. Um, that is somebody who is flustered, who gave up on the any momentum that they had and was just trying to get something going. It was the hero ball syndrome that Satu fell into as well, where it's like, well, I'm the star player. I have to win this for our team, and just didn't have it going. And she looked bad, and we'll dip into that a little bit more as we get through my notes here. Um, I have Asia doing Asia things, Asia Wilson for the Las Vegas Aces. She looked incredible this game. It looked effortless. It looked like, and this is also the reason why Alyssa Thomas looked old, was Asia Wilson is in her prime. She's the four-time MVP, and you have Alyssa Thomas, who's what is she, like 36, 37 at this point now. Um, she's 33. She moves like she's 36, 37. I'm so sorry. I did not mean for that. That was oh my god, that was bad. But yeah, Asia made her look like she was in her late 40s when she's in her early 30s. Just a complete dismantling of anybody who was on Asia Wilson, but more particularly, they had Alyssa Thomas on her, and Alyssa Thomas looked terrible. Asia Wilson looked great. Dipping into the aces here a little bit more, this was like I alluded to, or like I said earlier, when Jewel Lloyd had a really good um, first game one, offensively. Defensively, this was Jewel Lloyd's best defensive game. She was completely bought in. Defensively, she looked incredible. She had some good shots, not in double digits at all. Altered so many passes, altered so many post up chances from the Mercury, and looked really solid. Looked amazing. And it was her birthday, so it was a birthday win for her. 9 points, 2 blocks, 3 steals, 7 rebounds. That's all I can ask for. That's all you can ask for. Hey, if you don't have it going offensively, guess what? Get it done defensively. If this is the version of Jewel, if we can combine a game one and game two version of Jewel Lloyd for the rest of the series, the Aces win this series in four. But I don't know. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think Jewel Lloyd is gonna come back down to earth. Maybe have another defensive game that was really good. Another defensive game in game three, but who knows? I don't know. Um, moving on. Um, Heading down the end of the first half, Asia Wilson had a historical half. I think it was the most. It was tied for the second most points in a half. I believe. Uh, yeah, it was tied for second most points in a half. Um, Behind and actually tied with Kalia Kapu, who's on the Phoenix Mercury. So a fun little tidbit there for you guys. Um, and yeah, and the half ended. Were the Aces up at the half? Yeah, the Aces were up at the half, and to be honest, this is where I started getting worried, and I was like, okay, we got to come out of the third, we got to keep this lead in the third, and then the fourth, we really need to focus in on the fourth because that's where the Aces started to like fall apart a little bit. They did not though, um, and we moved on to the third quarter where Alyssa Thomas did come out and have a good defensive stand for the Phoenix Mercury on A'ja Wilson. Really good defense in the third. Um, it really wasn't a competition. The Aces still outscored them in the third quarter. Um, but Alyssa Thomas played some better defense on A'ja, just slightly better. Um, and then she got her fourth foul. Oh yeah, she got her yeah she got her fourth foul early on in the fourth quarter. 7:17 left. I have it written down right here. Um, and that was not ideal. She was really frustrated with that one. And my thing here, and I'm gonna say this and preface this because we're gonna have to talk about game 2, 3, and then so on and so forth, or game 3, 4, and then so on and so forth. I hate and I absolutely despise players that complain and just look at the refs and make faces and make hand gestures. LeBron in the NBA is the king of this, just looking at the refs, like, what? I didn't do that, you know? My favorite player, my second favorite player in the NBA, Luka Doncic, does it all the time. I absolutely despise when he does it. And I even hate it more when Alyssa Thomas does it. Because Alyssa Thomas will do the most egregious thing, will do the most obvious foul, and then look at the ref and be like, I didn't do that, you know? And it boils me so much. It boils me like a hard boiled egg, man. I'm just like, just, guess what? Just focus on the game. It happened. Either ask your coach to challenge it or move on. They're not going to look at it. They're not going to change their mind. Just move on. And that stuff just really gets me annoyed. And from the perspective of the Aces fan, I, I I think the game was called pretty fairly. Some Phoenix Mercury fans will tell you that the Aces had the refs on the payroll. Whatever you want to say, guess what? You got to play into it sometimes. You got to embellish the contact. You got to do this. You got to do that. It's how you play the game. It's how it is. I wish it wasn't that way. I wish basketball could just be played and we could get every call right, but we simply cannot. And the winners and losers are defined by how well you can embellish those things. And that's simply the matter of the fact. And last year when the Liberty won it all last year. The, they used the refs to their advantage and they won, and the Minnesota Lynx did not. And if I think if the series was called fairly, the Lynx would have won that series, but that's just not what happened. Um, I'm not saying that this series is going to turn out like that. I think the Mercury are going to get a bit more different of a whistle at home, but we'll see. Continuing on with this game, Satu Sabali continued to stink it up. And I said here, Satu Sabali thinks she's the four-time MVP. Like she was taking like critical shots, like like shots you want like a real star player to play when Satu's just simply a role player at this point, and should remain a role player after the stinky game she had. Sheesh. Um, oh, pardon me. Let me make a correction here. I read my note wrong. She got her fourth foul in the third quarter. Alyssa Thomas did with 17:7 left. Or 7:17 left. So pardon me, that was a misspeak by me. She got her fourth in the third. So yeah, she was with four fouls heading into the fourth quarter. But before we get to the fourth quarter, in the third quarter, man oh man, Jackie Young, J Yo, um, ascended. She was ascending. And when I say ascending, I don't mean like a godlike ascending. I mean like a basketball ascending, like on the ranking of good to great to amazing players. The quarter was hers. She was hitting all types of shots. She was getting all types of looks. She looked like um, prime Dwayne Wade down in the paint in the NBA. She was just going up and under and hitting all these crazy angles and like faking out people. Like the footwork was incredible as well. And I made one note about that, and I made a second note that was the Jackie Young out of body experience continues, and it was crazy. And I remember I think it was, yeah, it was late. It was at the end of the third where Jackie Young was bringing up the ball, and Megan Gustafson was coming to set the screen, and you could see Chelsea Gray, um, like literally mouthing, "No, no, move, move, move! Let her get the shot off. Let Jackie Young keep going." And I don't know if she made her miss that shot, but like everybody was like rooting for her to just keep going. Um, to give you some context here before we head into the fourth quarter, um, top right, middle of your screen, bottom left, that's Alyssa Thomas, number 25. Number 0, Satu Sabali, left side of your screen. Obviously, you know Asia Wilson, number 22, top left of your screen as well. Just get that. And bottom right, Jewel Lloyd. Just so my work doesn't go, my hard work making this graphic doesn't go to waste, so you know who's in front of you. As I've been talking here. Um, and we head into the fourth quarter here, and my first note here is the Mercury make a run, but it was taking too long for them to get into their get to their shots. They were essentially wasting the whole shot clock. Anna Bonner also was in there, really couldn't get anything going for them. Um, and the Aces had so much momentum heading from that third quarter into that fourth, and in the later stages of the fourth as well. They were just moving too quickly, again, this is why I said the Mercury look old. The Mercury just couldn't be bothered. They were just defeated mentally. Um, and Phoenix was still. There were moments where they would like. There was like 30 seconds to a minute where they would hit like 2 3 shots in a row, and then the Aces would come down and just get a really heady, smart shot. Um, and then coming down the stretch, um, Phoenix looked old. I have that in my notes again. I said that a bunch of times because it was plainly obvious. The younger players need to step up. Natasha Mack, MAM, Catherine Westbed. What else is here? Yeah, Satu needs to step up. Um, yeah, really bad. Satu did get her ankle stepped on in the fourth quarter by accident by Asia Wilson because Satu fell down on a shot and then Asia Wilson was like backpedaling, accidentally stepped on her ankle. It didn't look like it was severe. It just looked like she was in a little bit of pain. So there was that. And yeah, let's round up these Aces stats and get out of here. Asia Wilson 28 points, like I said, 14 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal. Chelsea Gray 10 points, 10 assists, 8 rebounds, 3 steals, 3 blocks. Really good. She was one of those annoyances, deterrence. I don't even know what the right word is. They when they would double Alyssa Thomas, it would usually be Chelsea Gray or Jewel Lloyd coming to help with the double. Really, really good stuff from Chelsea Gray this game. Um, Jackie Young, 32, like I said. Um, Jewel Lloyd, 9. Dana Evans did not have a repeat, really great game, but came in, gave him a couple good shots. And just overall, a masterclass from the Aces. And the main thing that was taken away from this game as well is that Becky Hammond is out coaching again Nate Tibbetts, and we'll see what happens in Game 3 and Game 4. But man, oh man, um, Becky Hammond looked good coaching. Like she had some really she adjusted so well from Game 1. They were running all different types of defense. They were hungry. They wanted it. They understood the moment. I think that's a very critical and underrated part of a finals run is understanding the moment, understanding these small little things matter. Um, and I'm just I questioned this during the season, and I sort of wavered away from it because the Mercury started really shooting up the standings and was doing pretty well, and they were a veteran team, and like I had said my whole spiel about them having experience separately, but now they're together, all that stuff. I'd questioned their mindset, and I questioned their toughness, and I questioned Alyssa Thomas's leadership, and I questioned Dewana Bonner being on this team as well, who is a bit past her prime, a bit past her years. And She really shouldn't be playing a critical role. Should be playing a bench role player role, and shouldn't be counted on to do all these things. I questioned all these things and if they were soft, and I think they are soft. And I think it's really starting to show. And I'm gonna bring that up again. It's like I don't think they're mentally ready for this. Um, I think there's a trick. There's a mind thing where at this point everybody knows what Alyssa Thomas wants to do, and if the other pieces aren't on the chessboard, aren't doing their part, then Alyssa Thomas looks bad. And then when Alyssa Thomas looks bad, you get Joanna Bono looking bad. You get Satu Sabri looking bad. And then hey, the only real person that can create a shot outside of that is Kalia Copper and Sammy Whitcomb. And when Sammy doesn't have it going, then you don't have a shooter. You're down a shooter. And then when Kalia Copper's the only one doing it, like I said, she's not really a first option. She needs to be an auxiliary option, a second option, a third option to help bolster your scoring. She shouldn't be counted on to do all that. Um, I think that's worrisome if you're a Mercury fan. And if you're an Aces fan like me, you're riding high right now and enjoy it. Um, 2 wins away from another championship. Crazy. Um, some fun stats here, some final stats for you guys. Um, Alyssa Thomas became the all-time postseason assist leader, surpassing Courtney Vandersloot. Um, she moved to sixth all-time in postseason field goals made list, so good for Alyssa Thomas. Some other stat lines here. Jackie Young and A'ja Wilson combined for 60 points, second most ever by a duo in a finals game. Super cool. Chelsea Gray is now fourth all-time in points and assists combined, double doubles. All time, all time, not just finals, all time, all time. And then one last quote here from Jackie Young, who I uh, I I talked a lot about during this regular season. I don't know if Jackie Young's it. I don't know if she really she takes some questionable shots sometimes. Um, she had 21 points in the third quarter. Like I said, huge third quarter for her. And all she had to say was the rim was big. So yeah, shout out Jackie, shout out the Aces. This has been a really fun series, regardless of who's gonna win. Obviously, I want my Aces to win, but this has been really good game, really good games, and we will get more this week, and we'll see who's gonna be maybe lifting up that trophy this weekend or next week. Who knows? So yeah, thank you for watching. If you got this far, like, comment, subscribe, check out my other WNBA videos, and yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers.